Number 3, Jesus meets a deeply felt, usually physical need. People will not take action. They will not respond to your request for them to take their desired action until they deeply trust you. So when people come here for the first time and you ask for, hey, let me get a follow-up, why? What, you know what I mean? Like, I walked in the front door and now I'm at the connection booth. Why? I don't really want to give you my phone number. You're going to call me 17 times. I'm going to get telemarketing from the church. No, thank you. So people will not take action until they deeply trust you. And the deeper the need that you meet, the more people believe you care about them. And we'll talk more later, but as Jesus is meeting needs, he's meeting the right need. Okay? And this builds a lot of trust with people. And this is really great because when we think about marketing in the standpoint of the church, it's like, oh, it's this cumbersome thing. Like, I got into Pastor Andrew was telling me the other day, I got into ministry because I care about people, and now I got to know marketing. It seems detached. Why do I need this? The really great thing is ultimately, experienced marketers know marketing isn't about marketing, it's about meeting people's needs. And that's exactly what you do. So we're going to shift from being marketers to being professional need meters, and the rest will fall into place. Okay, so Matthew 14, Jesus feeds the 5,000, right? We got fast food. Hungry people following him. The disciples say, send them home. And he says, no, you feed them. You feed them. And he's meeting needs. Jesus provides a miraculous catch of fish to the right. And again, what we're seeing here is when Jesus feeds the 5,000, he gives them food. They're hungry, he gives them food. He meets the deepest need, right? He didn't give them water. It didn't say they were thirsty. He said miraculous food because they were super hungry. When Jesus provides them miraculous catch of fish, who's he doing it for? They're fishermen. They fished all night. I've been to Magdala, where they would have sold a lot of this fish to Roman soldiers moving through the area. If you don't have fish, you don't have money to feed your family, you don't have money to feed yourself, you don't have fish to feed yourself. So they worked all night, they pulled an all-nighter, they're fishing, they got nothing. What does Jesus do? He shows up and he gives them a miraculous catch of fish because that meets the deepest need. And we might imagine if he was doing this for farmers, he would give them a miraculous growth of corn or something, you know? Because that meets the deepest need that's meaningful to the people he's talking to. And lastly, Jesus heals the man born blind. So he goes up to the man born blind and he goes, what's the problem? And he's like, I can't see. And he goes, you're healed of your blindness. And we take this for granted a lot, but in marketing, this is a big, big problem. Because if I'm going to heal someone, it had better be of the blindness, because can you imagine if Jesus went to the blind man and he said, I need to be healed. And Jesus goes, absolutely. And he's like, be healed of your back pain. And the blind man was like, well, thanks, but that's not the first priority. And actually, I'm feeling a little let down because it wasn't the deepest need, right? And secondly, what we do oftentimes is we think we're meeting the need of one person, but it turns out someone else wanted that. And in this situation, the blind man comes up to Jesus and he goes, heal me, Jesus. And Jesus says, you betcha. And he goes, be healed. And it goes to the person next to the blind man. And the blind man's, well, what about me? And Jesus is like, oh, I thought you wanted back pain healed. Oh, that guy had back pain? We'll get you next time. We'll get you next time. Sorry. Wrong need for the wrong person. And so these are really important things. We need to meet the correct and most deeply felt need. And that's what Jesus did. And I think as we move on to this slide, I just want to put one more thing in. When someone promises to meet a need and then they underperform on that promise, even if what they did is good, we're still disappointed because our hopes were set up for the blindness to be healed. And my back feels a little better, but I'm feeling a little bit deceived. And a lot of times we do that in marketing. We make a big promise and then we sort of miss the mark, and then people lose trust in us even if what we did is good because it didn't meet the deepest need. So with that, how do we build trust in marketing? We've said it a couple times. We build trust in marketing by meeting deeply felt needs. As Pastor Coe mentioned, starting with the physical need, because that's the need people know they have. When you meet the physical need, they trust you, and they're interested to hear what you have to say about other things. And what's really, really interesting is when we see Jesus giving the miraculous catch of fish to the fishermen, he then invites them to follow him. And he just gave them $1,000 worth of fish, $1 million, whoever knows how much that was worth. All these fish they pulled up, and he says, now come and follow me. And they leave the fish. Right? Jesus says, if you like that, I got way more where that's coming from. And they're like, forget this. We don't need this. Let's just go with that guy. Right? He's the golden goose. He's got all the golden eggs. This is one golden egg. Let's follow him. Okay, so we build trust by meeting deeply felt need. Now, point 4. And this is the one difference between marketing in a church, in the Christian world, and marketing in the secular world. We go from the physical and then we go to the spiritual, because people don't want to hear about spiritual needs until the physical needs are met. Why? Because I'm hungry. Why do I want to listen to a sermon when I'm trying to think about McDonald's cheeseburgers? Okay? So Jesus shifts from the physical to the spiritual. John 10, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. So Jesus is talking to the woman in the well. Jesus asks her for water, and she's talking to him, and he goes, well, if you knew who I was, you'd ask me for living water. So he goes from a physical concept they're talking about, he relates with her, and then he shifts it to a spiritual. And the really great thing is most of the time they don't even know what he's talking about, because we're not aware of these needs. We're not aware of the spiritual side of things. And they go, how do I get this kind of water? You don't have a rope. You don't have a bucket. How could you possibly get this living water from the well? John 4, meanwhile, his disciples urged him, Rabbi, eat something. But he said to them, I have food that you know nothing about. So they're walking. They see the woman at the well. This is directly after the woman at the well, and his disciples go, please eat something. He goes, from the spiritual to the physical, I have food you know nothing about. And again, they go, where is he hiding his bread? Is there more in that basket again that we didn't know about? Like he's more fast food? No, he's talking about spiritual food. And here, this is after the feeding of the 5,000. So he goes, he meets a deeply felt physical need. He feeds them the fast food. And then in John, he escapes. He escapes. He goes over the Sea of Galilee, and they realize he's gone. They go after him, and after they're following him. And this is really important. When we meet deeply felt needs, you can try to run away, and they will follow you. Right? And that's one of the big things that we get from Jesus' influence. He's not even worried. He meets the need of the 5,000, and then he leaves. And they come after him because they want more. And a lot of times in ministry, we're trying to get them to do something, and we can't get them to do anything because we missed the meeting of the deeply felt need. And if we just met the need, and I think we saw this on Easter. And I don't know exactly who all was involved, but you got 7 tons of meat donated. You have, and it's all about how can we meet the needs of people hurting. And it wasn't about you guys at all. It wasn't about promotion. It was just about meeting needs. You got 7 tons of meat donated. You have 4 different news agencies showing up, hospital leaders showing up. Big success. And the only thing you did was try to meet needs. So when we meet the needs, people will chase us. And that's the big secret here. And that's why we're going to keep coming back to that. So Jesus retreats. He runs away. He's trying to get away from them. And they catch up to him on the other side of the lake. And he says, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never go thirsty. And so we can see that the spiritual need that he's offering to meet is always related to the physical need that they already showed was important to them. So to the fishermen, he offers them to be fishers of men. To the woman at the well, he offers her living water. To the people who are hungry, he offers them spiritual food. And so again, we're tying it in with the physical need we already know they want. Lastly, Jesus called them to action. Okay, so in psychology, pull a little bit from psychology here, we find that people are programmed always to take the path of least resistance. And if you study behavioral psychology at all, there's a reason why we stand with our hands to the side and not up in the air. Right? We would never see people do just standing around like this. Why? Because our bodies are programmed to conserve energy. I don't lift my hands unless there's a reason to do it, because if something happens, I need energy left over to address that thing that happens. Okay? And so we're always programmed to take the path of least resistance. If you don't ask specifically for them to take the action, your desired action, they will not do it, almost assuredly. During my time in Florida, as God sort of was calling me out of the pastoral ministry, I was in sales for a few years, about 3 years. And I had the privilege of selling high-end furniture, $10,000 couches, $12,000 couches. And the number one thing that they would stress in sales training is you have to ask for the sale. If you do not ask, they will never buy it. And I remember one man specifically, is very true in all circumstances, but one man specifically came in looking at very, very expensive couches, and he seemed to know a lot about it. And I'm like, this is unusual. I've done like 2 years of training to understand what these couches are made out of, the quality of leather, the lifetime, all of this stuff. And I'm like, how do you know this? And he's like, well, we've really been looking around. And I'm like, how many different places have you been shopping for a couch? I worked on a street called Furniture Row. And for 100 miles, there are just furniture shops, literally, right? All the way up, from Fort Myers to Orlando, to Tampa. And there's just tons of furniture stores. And at least 50. He'd been shopping for a couch at 50 stores. And his wife told me, she's like, please put me out of my misery. Get it over with. And I said, why didn't you, clearly you know what you like, why didn't you buy anything? And he says, nobody asked me. Nobody asked me. And I said, well, do you like this couch? And he goes, yeah, I really love that couch. And I said, how about we just get this over with today? And you can take a couch home. And he goes, absolutely. And that's it. And that's it. And what's really, really ironic, too, as I was in sales, most of the time, it didn't even matter what the desired action was. People come in, they have an idea of what they want. They have an idea of a budget they want to spend. But I saw people come in with a $1,000 budget and leave with $20,000 of furniture. I saw people come in wanting a red couch, and they left with a Tempur-Pedic bed. Why? Because the salesman built a relationship with them. He showed them that he deeply cared. And then he told them what to get, and they said yes. Really. And it made me really uncomfortable because I'm like, it's amazing that as salespeople, you can have this much influence over what someone does. They buy the couch because they know I care about them. I'm just genuine, right? I'm not trying to swindle you. I'm just a guy. I love people. This is my work, and I want you to get something you love. Oh, well, great. We'll buy it from you. And the salespeople that I worked with were a little bit more corporate world, like we might think about. And they would have competitions in the background in the office, and they would say, do you think you can get that guy coming in the door to get on his back and go underneath the couch and examine the frame? And sure enough, that guy, 30 minutes later, 40 minutes later, he would be on his back, upside down, under a couch, examining the wood frame. Do you think you can get them to lie backwards on the bed so their feet are on the pillow and their head's hanging off the side? And they would really do this. And people will do anything. It doesn't matter what the desired action is. If they think you care about them, they will do it. I don't suggest you guys do those specific things. So Jesus gives calls to action. Come and follow me, Jesus said, and I will make you fishers of men. A call to action gives two options, yes or no. There are no middle grounds. Purchase the couch. Let's purchase this today. Yes or no. Jesus knew yes or no. We want to reach everyone in the ministry, but a lot of times we don't ask for the sale, so to speak, because we're afraid that they'll say no. Jesus knew they would say no sometimes. Go, this is the rich young ruler, go, sell all of your possessions. Give it to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me. And what did he say? No, he walked away sad. Go and sin no more, John 8. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is near. That's that turn of action that you guys were alluding to. As we're asking people to engage with the church, it does not matter what it is we're asking them. What they want to know is they're cared about. And specifically with Pastor Andrew, we were having conversations about this in terms of the leaders, the leadership. And he's telling me, and he was telling me, how do I, what do I ask people to do? How do I, if I'm asking you to do this, what do I really have to give to you that would be valuable enough? that you feel like I care about you. And we're going to talk more about that in a minute, but we have way more to give than we think. A lot of times we think in monetary terms. We want them to tithe, so what? They lose and we win. Not the case. We have a lot we can give that is much more valuable than money, that is much more valuable than coming in and mopping the floors, and people will be happy to do it when we approach it the correct way. Don't stop now. We have tons of other videos for you to watch and learn how to reach more people more effectively. If you loved this video and you don't want to miss out on what we have coming up for you next, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell to keep up to date on our newest content. If you'd like to work with Clickmill personally, head on over to clickmill.co where you can learn more about our proven marketing strategies. I look forward to seeing you in the very next video.